time. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
Are you ready to be a part of the conversation that will help shape our nation's future? Get ready to join us for the Left Coast Forum, Saturday, October 25th at LA Trade Tech, where progressive voices will come together to tackle the issues that matter most to working families across Los Angeles and beyond. From economic justice to climate action, from healthcare to housing, we're bringing together the brightest minds and most passionate advocates for real solutions and real change. With workshops, 2 major keynote addresses, and a closing reception with great music and good food. It's the Left Coast Forum, where your voice matters and your ideas take action. Saturday, October 25th at LA Trade Tech. Brought to you by KBLA Talk 1580 and the LA Progressive. The future won't wait, and neither should you. Mark your calendar now to be there and be heard. Stay tuned to KBLA Talk 1580 for more details.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Looking forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. It's the day after Labor Day, September 2nd. It's the silly season. Politics, parades, the beginning of school. And already we've had tragedies in schools, and we've already begun protesting in anticipation here in the city of Chicago for the massive federal presence that Donald Trump is now planning for the city of Chicago. That's what we can expect in Labor Day 2025, with full expectations that this disease will spread to other cities throughout the nation. But I want to return to Labor Day. Yesterday, all of us at KBLA, we were off, and I want to reflect upon A. Philip Randolph. A. Philip Randolph, the founder of the Pullman Porters Car Workers Association, largely responsible for organizing the March on Washington in 1963, the same March on Washington that on August 28th, Martin Luther King Jr. delivered the I Have a Dream speech. A. Philip Randolph, an unsung and an unknown in many quarters of our country and our world, hero of the civil rights movement, maybe the most significant African-American voice in the history of organized labor since the nation transitioned from slave labor to free labor. This is what A. Philip Randolph had to say. Look for the enemies of Medicare, of higher wage, minimum wages, of Social Security, of federal aid to education. There you will find the enemy of the Negro, the coalition of Dixiecrats and reactionary Republicans that seek to dominate the Congress. A. Philip Randolph said that in the late 50s and in the early 60s. He went on, the whole point of Labor Day. The essence of trade unionism is social uplift. The labor movement has been the haven for the dispossessed, the despised, the neglected, the downtrodden, and the poor. Unionism, however, in and of itself, has not always been supportive of blacks in the trades. We've had to fight as African Americans to be included in the struggle for better wages, to join a union, In fact, corporations would hire unemployed blacks, unemployed Hispanics, and yes, even unemployed whites to cross and break over picket lines of working class whites. And you know what they used to call us? Scabs. Scabism. Hiring people who just want to feed their family, who just want to go to work, but to break the spirit of men and women who are fighting for decent wages and more benefits, to squeeze everything they can out of an 8-hour day to provide for their families. The union movement found its cause fundamentally differently in the history of African Americans. We owe that consciousness to A. Philip Randolph. Lest should we forget, Dr. King delivered his I Have a Dream speech at a union rally in Washington, D.C. That's what it was. And on April 4th, 1968, when we lost Martin Luther King Jr. at the Lorraine Motel to an assassin's bullet, he was there organizing who? Sanitation workers. I Am a Man campaign. Men who wanted to be in a union so that they could be paid for the work that they did. Some of the dirtiest jobs in Memphis, in any city. In fact, the idea of being a garbage man took on a new form of dignity now that we call them what? Sanitation workers. We looked at it then, because of the death of Martin Luther King Jr., as an honorable profession, something that we thank men and women for willing to be able to do, to take out our trash, to remove it from in front of our homes, to walk the alleys of America and provide us with some sense of sanitation. All of this is occurring against the backdrop now of a White House that plans to rename the Department of Defense to the Department of War. At some point in time this week, we will have a brief conversation about that, from the Department of Defense, a defensive posture for the United States, to the Department of War, meaning that the President of the United States conducts war, not defense. I find that to be somewhat fascinating, because war is actually the language that Congress has in the Constitution that the people have placed there for Congress to make that determination. When we come forward, we have an extraordinary guest on our program, Miss Shermanita Carter, who's a CPA, largely responsible for saving Morris Brown College. We're going to talk about that when we come forward on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580.
While you're stuck in traffic, we can at least bring you up to speed on the news of the day. You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. only on KBLA Talk 1580.
Exciting news, ladies! Always Discreet Boutique Bladder Leak underwear are available in black and printed design. Protect yourself with style. These fit and feel just like real underwear, and they give you up to 0 leaks, 0 odor. Designed for all shapes and sizes, they give you the confidence to be fully yourself. Don't let bladder leaks hold you back. Buy Always Discreet Boutique Bladder Leak underwear now.
Yeah, I'm looking at the pages right now.
Thomas's translation company just lost its only 2 Spanish speakers. Without the right replacements, he'll be in problemas.
Yeah, we'll have those ready. Tonight's gonna be a late one.
Indeed can help him hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. With Indeed Instant Match, we immediately show you quality candidates whose resumes on Indeed meet your sponsored job description. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
This is a special alert to all Americans who own a vehicle with less than 200,000 miles with an auto warranty about to expire or with no warranty coverage at all. Due to a decline in the economy, CarShield is announcing a low-cost month-to-month vehicle protection plan that is now available to the public to save any driver out-of-pocket expenses on future auto repairs. Call now to find out how you can pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. Yes, you heard that correctly. Pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. An open phone line has been established for all drivers to call for a free quick quote. Call 800-297-1563 now. Drivers who are covered will not have to pay for covered repairs again. This protection plan is at an all-time low. Additionally, drivers who activate this vehicle protection today will also receive free roadside assistance, free towing, and car rental options at no additional cost. Call us for your free quick quote today. 800-297-1563. That's 800-297-1563. What do you have to lose? Call 800-297-1563. Again, 800-297-1563.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Welcome forward to our show on KBLA Talk 1580. Shermanita Carter is a certified public accountant, accomplished author, and transformative leader in higher education finance. She currently serves as the Chief Financial Officer at Morris Brown College in Atlanta, Georgia, where she's been instrumental in the historic resurgence of the storied HBCU. A proud Morris Brown alumna, Carter graduated in 1994 with a Bachelor of Science in Accounting. As a first-generation college student who relied on federal financial aid, she knows firsthand the power of education to change lives and has dedicated her career to making that access possible for others. Before returning to her alma mater in an executive role, she worked as a revenue agent for the Internal Revenue Service and built a successful career in business consulting, nonprofit finance, and audit services. She's been a leading voice in the movement to restore and sustain Black institutions through transparency, innovation, and purpose-driven leadership. Since joining Morris Brown College in 2019, Carter has led the institution through one of the most significant financial turnarounds in HBCU history. Under her leadership, the college regained full accreditation in 2022 after a 2-decade lapse. Shermanita, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
I am particularly excited that you are here as well. In fact, I think all of us owe you a tremendous debt of gratitude because without your leadership, there is no doubt that we may have lost one of our historically Black colleges and universities. So we take our hat off to you, Shermanita. Shermanita, can you share with us what that transition and what that period was like trying to revive a historically Black college and university? These institutions are so needed now more than ever.
That's a great question. When I was approached in 2019 to even attempt to do this restoration, it was a time when we had the chairperson of the Board of Trustees was at the point where either Morris Brown would gain its reaccreditation under the new administration, or by that time we were going to shut the doors because the African American Methodist Episcopal Church, AME Church, pretty much they founded Morris Brown College, and so they were our primary financial support along with the alumni. So it got to a point where they were considering just cutting their losses. When I was approached, of course, I was fearful. Nobody had ever done anything like that I had known of, who were going into a college knowing that the financial statements were not in order, knowing that there was no accounting staff, knowing that the faculty, everybody at that point were donating their services. And I initially thought that would be a great opportunity for my CPA firm to step in and oversee the CFO who was there whenever he wanted to show up, and which is understandable. He had a family to feed as well. When I stepped in, I realized that this is bigger than me. This is my alma mater, and we may just have a chance. So going in there, immediately I realized that maybe we don't. But it was we had not had audited financial statements for over 6 years. The books were not, we didn't know what money was coming in. I found checks that were like 3 or 4 years old that were really donations. It was a traumatic experience. However, the board decided to believe in myself and our current president, Dr. Kevin James, and gave us an opportunity to do so. As a matter of fact, my firm's fees were paid through the DeKalb chapter of the National Alumni Association in Decatur, Georgia. That's how serious they were, and that's how confident they were, apparently in me at the time, that we would get this done, and we did.
Mm. I want to say, I want to offer a little bit of historical context here, because as we look at this frontal assault on Second Reconstruction, I shared with Shermanita before the program began that, well, two institutions really survived First Reconstruction. That is the turn of the century, from the 17th century, 1890s, through the turn of the 19th century to the 21st century, 20th century. The Black Church, the AME Church, the Baptist Church, our Christian traditions, and historically Black colleges and universities, both privately funded institutions as well as the land grant institutions. They're the only institutions that survived the frontal assault of First Reconstruction. By the turn of the century, there was from 16 Blacks in Congress to 0. Since we last gathered on our radio show, the governor of Missouri has announced that the state of Missouri is going to redistrict the state of Missouri, and they're going to chop up the district of Congressman Emanuel Cleaver, which could very well eliminate him from Congress, all reacting to Governor Abbott, to California, and to the redistricting surge and disease that's spreading across the United States. So when we talk to Shermanita Carter about how to save an HBCU, one of the few institutions that we may be able to return to when we are no longer allowed to attend other institutions using their dubious arguments and devious arguments, I can't begin to tell you just how much of a hero she really, really is in reviving a school that we can attend with accreditation. Ms. Carter, let me ask you this question. One of the challenges in this era has been this frontal assault on both the public institutions and the private institutions by suggesting that our institutions are not worthy or capable of providing the kinds of education that predominantly white schools do. Can you please dispel that myth for all of us?
Oh, absolutely. Students who come to, most of the students who come to HBCUs are from underprivileged or underserved communities like me. And that meant that, we needed financial assistance to even begin and get through the matriculation through college, through federal financial aid, Pell Grants, student loans. But once we get there, and once the pride is instilled in us of who we are and what we're capable of, we go on to do great things. The last statistic that I saw was that about 70% of the students who graduate from HBCUs end up becoming, they move from lower class to middle class, and they become major contributors to the society, to that level, and they bring others along. HBCUs have instructors, administrative staff who are always there to support the students. They know them by first name. My accounting instructor, I have his number in my cell phone, and we talk, every 6 months, and that was over 30 years ago. So the relevance of HBCUs is very strong. And as you mentioned earlier, as we move into this new era, a lot of students, and I beg to say there may be even some who are non-melanated, who are going to start drifting over to HBCUs.
I think that's probably true. The assault is also suggesting that HBCUs are possibly, as a result of how the Department of Education is being used to now evaluate the process by which it lets minority students into their colleges in the first place, could also be looking at a tremendous growth period. Again, one of two institutions that survived First Reconstruction were historically Black colleges and universities and the Black church. Are we seeing that now across the board at HBCUs, Shermanita?
We do have we have whites enrolled at Morris Brown College. It's less than 1%, but they're coming. I don't remember that in 1989 when I entered the campus of Morris Brown College. We have Indian. We have a lot more nationalities, not just those people from the continent of Africa. They're seeing the opportunities and they're taking advantage of them.
Some of the challenge that students face at Morris Brown are some of the challenges that they face right across that same yard at Morehouse College and at Spelman. What are some of those challenges, Shermanita?
Morris Brown is unique in the fact that when we were unaccredited, we actually had to file for bankruptcy. We had over 40 acres of land dwindled down to maybe less than 10 acres of land, 3 buildings, one that's actually functioning. That meant that we lost dorm space. Some schools are struggling with the fact that they don't have enough dorm space. Morris Brown's situation is that we have none. We have students who are living in apartments and boarding houses around the school. Some of those apartments are now off-campus student housing and the transportation. So one of Morris Brown's biggest challenges is for those students who are coming from out of town, making sure that they do have a place to stay and they can actually afford that as well. And like I said, keeping in mind that we are at HBCU and we have a lot of tradition of helping the children, the students. One of the avenues that we do have is we do have a federal grant where some students who are experiencing a financial shortfall in their housing may apply for a grant to help them in those situations where they live off campus. And then once they're actually settled, we're so thankful to the alumni who donate generously to a general scholarship fund. And that scholarship fund is pretty liberal. So they also have opportunities to receive scholarships that way, just to make sure that they are financially stable during their matriculation at Morris Brown College.
Let me make the distinction between HBCUs that are land grant institutions like the one that I attended, North Carolina A&T State University, is largely supported by the state legislature. But when we talk about Morris Brown, when we talk about Morehouse, when we talk about Spelman, we're talking about privately funded institutions that largely require alumni, or in the case of Morris Brown, the support of a major church denomination and independent fundraising in order to survive. An even greater challenge than those institutions that require or use taxpayer funded sources of revenue for research and for other means of survival. How difficult in this environment has private funding and private sources been to ascertain?
Morris Brown is just fortunate God's hand is on us. We have not seen that big a drift in funding, especially corporate funding. We have corporations and foundations that have, we have 5-year MOUs with them. And so we may be like in our second or third year. We're okay. And like I said, the alumni and the AME Church continue to give. And we're just fortunate. We also, another thing I want to mention too is that we are very intentional about making sure that we live within our means. And by that I mean, our board of trustees approves the budget. We monitor that budget. Inside that budget, it's not just trying to get us to zero. If we see that there's excess after projected expenses, that money goes into what we call a reserve contingency. So if Department of Education decides that they want to reduce or delete Title III funding, which is important for a lot of HBCUs because that funds a lot of their academic activities, we have a budgeted line item to cover that those costs. And that's the way we'll continue to make sure that we stay afloat and we are focused on moving forward.
I want to know what Shermanita is also an author. She's the author of a book, Balancing the Books and Building Dreams. We're going to talk about this when we come forward. But in the interim, Shermanita, we have about 3 minutes. What inspired you to write this book?
Because we have a story to tell. Everybody has a story to tell. Morris Brown has a major story to tell. We already have a book called The First 100 Years from 1881 to 1981, and it tells this historically how we started in the basement of Big Bethel AME Church until where we are until 1981. However, a lot happened between 1981 and 2025. So my goal is to share it so that people will make sure that HBCUs are shown in the forefront, that we matter, that we're resilient, that we are capable of anything that we set our mind to. And then, honestly, I also wrote it for those individuals who may think that their story may not be important, but it's important to somebody. So if you just open your heart, open your mind, you share it, then somebody else it's gonna make a difference. And it's gonna make a difference in the lives of a lot of HBCUs who are struggling right now and trying to find their way. Something in that book that they'll read will make them realize that they could do, if Morris Brown could.
The biggest names, the best conversations. You're riding with Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Amber Payton with BIN News Now. Black Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson says federal immigration agents and the National Guard are not welcome in the city.
No federal troops in the city of Chicago.
At a Labor Day rally in the West Loop, Johnson delivered the message while calling for workers' rights as the Trump administration plans an ICE blitz in Chicago. Rapper Cardi B's civil trial is back in Los Angeles this week. A former security guard claims the rapper scratched her face during a 2018 altercation while Cardi, 4 months pregnant at the time, was heading to a doctor's appointment. And President Trump says Washington, D.C. is now a crime-free zone, crediting Black Mayor Muriel Bowser for working with him to bring crime down. On Truth Social, he urged other Democratic leaders, including Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker, California Governor Gavin Newsom, Black Maryland Governor Wes Moore, and Black Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson to cooperate instead of criticizing him. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Imagine a world without heart disease and stroke, where every person has the chance to live a full and healthy life. Join us for a walk to save lives at the American Heart Association's Greater Los Angeles Heart and Stroke Walk, Saturday, September 20th at the Rose Bowl. Every step made and every dollar raised means more people learning CPR, more life-saving research, and more time with the ones we love. Sign up at heartwalkla.org. The LA Heart and Stroke Walk is sponsored by Optum, UCLA Health, Keck Medicine of USC, and Dignity Health.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
Naomi Osaka is playing like a Grand Slam tennis champion again. Osaka, the number 23 seed at the U.S. Open, eliminated Coco Gauff, the number 3 seed. Osaka needed only 64 minutes to beat Gauff 6-3 and 6-2. Gauff had 33 unforced errors. Osaka, a 4-time Grand Slam champion, is in the quarterfinals of a Grand Slam event for the first time in 4.5 years. She faces Carolina Muchova of Czechia on Wednesday. Venus Williams advanced to the quarterfinals of the doubles competition at the U.S. Open. The 45-year-old Venus and Leylah Fernandez beat Ekaterina Alexandrova and Zhang Shuai 6-3 and 6-4. Venus and the 22-year-old Fernandez had never played together before this year's U.S. Open. They will play in the quarterfinals today against Taylor Townsend and Katerina Siniakova. You can catch today's doubles match live on ESPN at 1 p.m. Pacific Time. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
Hi, I'm Zoe Williams, a.k.a. the Voice of Reason, encouraging you to join me weekdays from 7 to 9 p.m. for the world's most intriguing relationship radio roundtable. Every night, I facilitate and encourage our loyal listeners to participate in the most engaging relationship discussions you'll hear anywhere. So make it a point to rendezvous with me, Zoe Williams, the Voice of Reason, Monday through Friday, 7 to 9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Trust me, your relationships will never be the same. The VOR is on fire tonight.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black.
With a KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Dr. Nicolai Corte. Let's preserve black land stories before they're lost forever. I want to personally invite you to be a part of something historic. As journalist in residence for the Black Land Lost Narrative Archive Project, I've joined forces with powerhouse attorney and social justice champion George Fothery, the man who helped make history by delivering justice to the Bruce family in Manhattan Beach, securing the first known return of land unjustly taken from black owners by a local government. That victory was monumental, but it was just the beginning. For generations, black families have acquired land through grit, faith, and determination, only to lose it through violence, legal loopholes, forced sales, and systematic racism. What's been taken goes far beyond dirt and deeds. It's the erasure of wealth, identity, and legacy. That's why we've launched the Black Land Lost Narrative Archive Project, a national effort to collect, protect, and preserve the stories of black land lost before they're buried, forgotten, or erased altogether. Because there's power in telling black stories, there is resistance in remembering, and there's justice in being seen and heard. This is where you come in. We're inviting you to be a part of this historic black narrative archive. If you or someone you know has experienced land loss, displacement, or forced property sales, your story deserves to be heard and remembered. Your story belongs in this archive. Your truth matters not just to your family, but to our collective future. Visit blacklandlost.org today. Fill out our simple intake form and add your voice to the National Archive of Remembrance, Resilience, and Reckoning. Let's make these stories live on, not in whispers, but on the record. With a KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Dr. Nicolai Corte, and as always, we welcome your feedback.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. Worried about eviction? You have rights, and Stay Housed LA can help. Stay Housed LA is a partnership between LA County, the City of Los Angeles, and local service providers. From Lancaster to Long Beach, we're here to help you with tenant education workshops, legal clinics, free legal services for eligible tenants, and online resources about tenant protection laws. Don't face eviction alone. Call our hotline at 1-888-694-0040. That's 1-888-694-0040. Or visit stayhousedla.org. Stay Housed LA, keeping Los Angeles residents in their homes. Stay Housed LA, your rights, your home, our community. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. In the next hour, we will be on the grind with Barbara Arnwine on Tenacious Tuesday. But in this hour, Shermanita Carter, her stewardship earned her and the college its highest ever composite financial responsibility score, Morris Brown College, of 3.0, and an unqualified audit opinion, clear indicators of sound fiscal management and transparency. Carter is also the author of Balancing Books and Building Dreams, a personal and professional memoir that explores the intersection of faith, finance, and purpose. Through her writing, she shares lessons from her journey and inspires others, especially women and young professionals, to pursue financial literacy, leadership, and legacy with boldness and integrity. Her impact has earned recognition beyond the campus. In 2022, she was honored as a finalist for CFO of the Year by the Atlanta Business Chronicle and recognized during her Women's History Month by the Alpha Alpha Pi Omega chapter of AKA Sorority Incorporated for her outstanding leadership in the HBCU community. Shermanita, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Good to be back.
Shermanita, the challenges that women face, particularly Black women face, and the role and the backbone that they have provided and shared in saving our institutions is probably one of the unsung stories. You began your presentation earlier in the program by saying so many of us were volunteers. Share with us that resilience and that persistence to save your alma mater.
So many of us were volunteers because a lot of us had history. Everybody who was a volunteer had history. They were at Morris Brown. They were, whether they were teaching or administratively, whatever their roles were prior to the accreditation. And remember, we lost the loss of accreditation. Remember, I told you we lost our accreditation in 2002. So we had individuals who, from 2002 until the time we received our accreditation in 2022 and beyond, who stuck it out, and that was major. There was a lot happened financially, but that wasn't their concern. Their concern and our concern, once I became a part of that after the CAB Alumni Association ran out of money for me. It was all about maintaining and restoring and building legacy. That's why the last part of my book says building dreams, because at one point we just got to the point where we were like, we're going to do this. Somebody else's child needs to be at Morris Brown College. We're going to do this. There has to be a story. So we persevered. There was a lot of sacrifices, even for me personally. While we were going through this, I actually suffered a stroke, and I thank God that He brought me through to finish the job. And we actually have two. I think we have two employees now who were at Morris Brown. One came to Morris Brown as an employee. Actually, he graduated from Morris Brown. Todd Blackburn. He's the vice president of institutional advancement. He started working at Morris Brown, I believe, in 1992, and he's still there today in institutional advancement. We all suffered, not just mentally and spiritually, but a lot of us suffered physically as well. But that wasn't the tap out. God didn't tell us to tap out, so we kept going.
Well, we're extremely grateful for that. Shermanita, let me ask you a question. When you think about the journey of Black people through history, and to have the privilege of serving at an HBCU generally, again, as a graduate of North Carolina A&T, I know for a fact that historically Black colleges and universities graduate annually more African Americans than all of the PWIs, that is predominantly white institutions combined. Our 100 or so HBCUs still graduate collectively more graduates every year with baccalaureate degrees than all of the white schools in this country combined. And I can't believe that it's going to get any better in terms of the numbers, except for the expansion of HBCUs as African Americans who graduate from high school turn to our institutions and turn to teachers and institutions that actually want us to be with them, that actually care for us, where we're not just a number, but we are part of a family that's trying to go somewhere and graduate. I noticed that you said you were the first African American to graduate in the history of your family from Morris Brown or Lincoln College. I'm sorry?
Oh, actually, I'm the first generation. I actually have 3 sisters. All 4 of us are Morris Brown College graduates.
And I was going to say, when I graduated from North Carolina A&T in 1987, I was the second. My father was the first in the history of our family to ever graduate from college. Then I was the second Jackson to ever graduate in the history of my family from 1619 to the present from college. And almost every single graduating class of Black Americans at historically Black colleges and universities today, almost every one of us is still the first Black to ever graduate from a college in our families. The vast majority of us. That's true. What a daunting task, but also what a divine responsibility we have to make sure that we graduate and are able to become upwardly mobile in the society.
And that's why we still, all HBCUs that I'm aware, we still have that nurturing spirit, because we understand a lot of us who are now going back and reaching back, like you said, we're first generation. So there's no excuse why we can't help those students move forward and achieve their dreams, because it's not like they're any less competent than any other student at a PWI. It's that we just need a chance. And I'm so thankful for the HBCUs that we are still relevant. That's why HBCUs are relevant. HBCUs are relevant because people are relevant. People who are underserved, people who need that extra push, people who are actually geniuses, but don't know it because perhaps depending on where they were in school, in public school, they weren't given that encouragement. But going to an HBCU and having the experience and having a nurturing environment helps them to realize that we too are somebody, and we too can be productive in society. And we actually have the data to actually prove that we are.
You know, I only have just a few seconds before we come forward, but I was thinking about when I was at A&T, that the ROTC program produced a number of my classmates who became colonels, they became generals, they became officers in the nation's service. When I think about General Brown, who recently lost his job from President Trump, and you think about others, including the Tuskegee Airmen and the men and women who've paid great sacrifices for our nation, who went to historically Black colleges and universities and fought in every single war. In a real sense, they too were building upon their dreams, building upon the dreams of all of us. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. When we come forward, some final thoughts from Shermanita Carter, who saved Morris Brown College. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
While you're stuck in traffic, we can at least bring you up to speed on the news of the day. You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. only on KBLA Talk 1580.
Attorney advertising. Prior results do not guarantee future outcomes.
Founded in Los Angeles in 1986, litigation powerhouse Quinn Emanuel has deep roots in the Los Angeles community. Since 2007, we have litigated some of the largest fires on the West Coast. We are proud to be the only AmLaw 100 firm in the country to represent wildfire victims, giving affected individuals, families, and businesses the same focus and individualized attention we devote to our Fortune 500 clients. BTI Consulting has repeatedly recognized Quinn Emanuel as among the 4 law firms in-house counsel least like to oppose in any litigation, and we are often deemed the most feared. And after securing over $80 billion for our clients in various matters firm-wide, we understand why. If you have been affected by the recent wildfires in Altadena and the Palisades and would like to discuss your situation further, please contact wildfire support at QuinnEmanuel.com or call us at 213-443-3050. Quinn Emanuel is proud to sponsor Conversation Live Altadena Rising with James Farr on KBLA Talk 1580.
Attorney advertising. Prior results do not guarantee future outcomes.
Yeah. The California Crusader newspaper would like to thank all of our subscribers for their support throughout the years, proudly serving the South Los Angeles and South Bay areas for more than 40 years. The California Crusader is a multicultural, black-owned, adjudicated newspaper that focuses on providing newsworthy information to the people in our community. We're constantly looking for ways to assist businesses in our community to connect with our subscribers. We provide low-cost, effective ways to promote your business with our reasonable and affordable advertising rates. You can participate by suggesting, sharing, and submitting your stories on the California Crusader newspaper Community Share Facebook group page, or visit our website at cal-cruise-news.com. That's calcruisenews.com. Then click on the Submit Now button located on the top right corner of the homepage, or text CCN to 42828. Again, text CCN to 42828. The California Crusader newspaper, working together to build a better community for our future. Subscribe today.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. Worried about eviction? You have rights, and Stay Housed LA can help. Stay Housed LA is a partnership between LA County, the City of Los Angeles, and local service providers. From Lancaster to Long Beach, we're here to help you with tenant education workshops, legal clinics, free legal services for eligible tenants, and online resources about tenant protection laws. Don't face eviction alone. Call our hotline at 1-888-694-0040. That's 1-888-694-0040. Or visit stayhousedla.org. Stay Housed LA, keeping Los Angeles residents in their homes. Stay Housed LA, your rights, your home, our community. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
This is Secret Clinical dominating extra stinky stress sweat. And this is regular deodorant. Secret Clinical in a heat wave. Oh, what a beautiful day. This is regular deodorant. Ugh, I can't. Secret Clinical with workout sweat. Let's run another marathon. And regular deodorant. How much more? Secret is the GOAT because nothing fights sweat better. Stay fresher under pressure.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Our very special guest in this hour has been none other than Shermanita Carter. She is one of the very important and crucial periods in this history who's helping us think through how to sustain our institutions when our backs are against the wall. She has done some extraordinary work at Morris Brown College. Shermanita, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
I'm glad to be back.
You know, I try to save the last 3 minutes of my program at the top of the hour, which gives us a good 7 minutes for a little bit more conversation and help you give us a word of hope for the final 3 minutes, given all that you've experienced. We ask that of all of our guests. But I do want to ask this question about the HBCU experience, because I had the most amazing experience of my life when I attended North Carolina A&T State University. I got into a number of other colleges. I really wanted to go because growing up in the 80s, there was this thing that somehow those of us who were studying business, we all wanted to end up on the street, meaning Wall Street. And I didn't quite know that the road that would challenge my assumptions about life would be through an HBCU. And there, I met some of the most amazing people who've been my friends my entire life. I tried to convince my own children. My son took advantage of my thoughts on this, to help them understand that the relationships they will develop between 18 and 21 years old will be lasting. For those of you who go to HBCUs, you will remember your friends the rest of your lives. However, if you go to the PWI, you're just a number. When my daughter graduated from UCLA, she was meeting many of her classmates for the first time at graduation. That's just how big the school is, 50, 60, 70, 80,000 people moving through that campus. It's impossible, online classes, to really get to know people in ways that you and your classmates did at Morris Brown and my classmates did at North Carolina A&T, and my son is now learning at Morehouse College. Share with us your HBCU experience and how enduring it has been in your professional career.
My HBCU experience, of course, was sorority, joining Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. However, it actually went beyond that as well. I was on the mock trial team at Morris Brown College. Had nothing to do with accounting, but I just wanted to do something different. And I bring that up because I was talking to a friend who I was encouraging her to consider sending her children to an HBCU. And she said, well, they don't offer things that that this particular school I want to send my daughter to because she wants to go into law. And she said, oh, and she did a mock trial. She was in this mock trial program over the summer. And I was so happy that of all things, she said mock trial. And I was, I gave her the spiel about how I was on the mock trial team, and we drove to Iowa and other places like that to enter into competitions. So, and then I also ran track. Another part of my story is that when I got to Morris Brown, being in Atlanta, I didn't want to go home for the summer. So I was watching TV, and this Army commercial came on that says, "Be all you can be." So I joined the Army. I did my basic training one summer, and then learned my military occupation the next summer, so I didn't miss any school. But it was just that important to me to stay in Atlanta and stay at Morris Brown. I was on the Student Government Association team. Even when I was matriculating through my classes, once I actually got into my major, our professors were giving us quizzes and tests based on the CPA exam at that time. After a CPA exam had been administered, the questions and answers were open book. And so that's why I ended up pursuing accounting and also pursuing my CPA license. I know at one time Morris Brown produced the highest per capita CPAs than any other HBCU. And so that was something that we were proud of. So my experience, like you, back then we had long registration lines. So I met my best friends that I'm still in contact with today, trying to get registered to get in school.
Trying to get into class.
Trying to get in class to financial aid. I wouldn't trade it for the world. I don't know what it's like to attend the PWI, and I don't want to know what it's like.
I heard
but
that.
I do encourage everyone to at least consider. And I'm looking forward to promoting my book as well. My book, the official launch day is October 10th, and you can go to shermanitacpa.com to actually to pre-order your books.
Oh, fantastic. Shermanita at?
No, shermanitacpa.com. That's it.
shermanitacpa.com. Shermanita, spell that for us.
SHERMANETTA, CPA as in certified public accountant.com.
Let's use these final 4 minutes to talk about your book and why you undertook this project.
Like I said before, I just want everybody to understand that there's a story. There's a story in everything that we do. Some people may think it's a small, but it doesn't matter. Don't be afraid. If you feel that there's something that happened that could affect the lives of others, or who that in this case, in my case, affect the longevity of other HBCUs, tell the story. Tell the story. And no matter how small, how large, how small, my book is not a novel. It's not like 500 pages of historical data. It's, less than 100 pages of my memoir about the things that I remember that we went through in order to get to where we were, including, I talk about in the book where when I came aboard, we owed almost $100,000 to Georgia Power. Thank God they didn't turn the lights off. But we fundraised, and we did it in a strategic manner, and we were able to pay to get caught up on the Georgia Power bill, and we were never behind again. So I still just always want to encourage HBCUs and anybody who's going through a struggle to continue the fight, be creative in how you fight. A lot of times people want to go back to what we did in the past and it worked. However, in the 21st century, there are a whole lot of more tools and resources. And also, there are a whole lot of alumni that are willing to jump in and help. As I mentioned before, we didn't have the funds for me to have a huge staff. At first, it was just only me. But I thank God that we were able to go look through our alumni database and we found some retired CPAs who came alongside and volunteered their time to help as well until we were able to pay them. So continue to look forward to good things from HBCUs and Morris Brown College.
One of the interesting things, and we just have 2 minutes left, everywhere I go, I hear Black people say, we've been through worse. We can weather this storm. We can make it. This is just a blip on our history, and it's bad, but it's not as bad as it's ever been. Really, every day, Shermanita, is part of the journey of who we are as a people. We make a way out of no way, don't we?
Yes, always. And we continue, and we, like I said, we think out of the box. We're very resilient. We continue to move forward in spite of and in the midst of. God is our resource, and we go through it.
Shermanita is a real, I want to say a sheroine in our culture. One of the unsung heroes. She said she was very nervous about coming on the Jesse Jackson Jr. show, and this is her first time conducting an interview. I think she did an extraordinary job, and I certainly hope you'll come back, Shermanita.
Oh, I certainly will. It's my honor.
Very much look forward to that. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. You've been listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. show. Shermanita Carter, she has a brand new book. Shermanita, the name of the book again?
Balancing the Books and Building Dreams.
She is a certified public accountant, balancing the books and building dreams. She is one of the architects in the resurgence of Morris Brown College. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. You've been listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. show. This is Tenacious Tuesdays. Up next, in the next hour, is Barbara Arnwine when we come forward on the Jesse Jackson Jr. show.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Amber Payton with BIN News Now. Black Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson says federal immigration agents and the National Guard are not welcome in the city.
No federal troops in the city of Chicago.
At a Labor Day rally in the West Loop, Johnson delivered the message while calling for workers' rights as the Trump administration plans an ICE blitz in Chicago. Rapper Cardi B's civil trial is back in Los Angeles this week. A former security guard claims the rapper scratched her face during a 2018 altercation while Cardi, 4 months pregnant at the time, was heading to a doctor's appointment. And President Trump says Washington, D.C. is now a crime-free zone, crediting Black Mayor Muriel Bowser for working with him to bring crime down. On Truth Social, he urged other Democratic leaders, including Illinois Governor J.P. Pritzker, California Governor Gavin Newsom, Black Maryland Governor Wes Moore, and Black Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson to cooperate instead of criticizing him. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
You deserve a car that thrills you. A car that puts goosebumps on your goosebumps. At Nissan, they've got everything from turbocharged SUVs to 100% electric vehicles that'll make your heart beat faster. Experience the thrill for yourself. Shop your local Nissan store and NissanUSA.com today.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
Naomi Osaka is playing like a Grand Slam tennis champion again. Osaka, the number 23 seed at the U.S. Open, eliminated Coco Gauff, the number 3 seed. Osaka needed only 64 minutes to beat Gauff 6-3 and 6-2. Gauff had 33 unforced errors. Osaka, a 4-time Grand Slam champion, is in the quarterfinals of a Grand Slam event for the first time in 4.5 years. She faces Karolina Muchova of Czechia on Wednesday. Venus Williams advanced to the quarterfinals of the doubles competition at the U.S. Open. The 45-year-old Venus and Leylah Fernandez beat Ekaterina Alexandrova and Zhang Shuai 6-3 and 6-4. Venus and the 22-year-old Fernandez had never played together before this year's U.S. Open. They will play in the quarterfinals today against Taylor Townsend and Katerina Siniakova. You can catch today's doubles match live on ESPN at 1 p.m. Pacific time. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
Are you ready to be a part of the conversation that will help shape our nation's future? Get ready to join us for the Left Coast Forum, Saturday, October 25th at LA Trade Tech, where progressive voices will come together to tackle the issues that matter most to working families across Los Angeles and beyond. From economic justice to climate action, from healthcare to housing, we're bringing together the brightest minds and most passionate advocates for real solutions and real change. With workshops, 2 major keynote addresses, and a closing reception with great music and good food. It's the Left Coast Forum, where your voice matters and your ideas take action. Saturday, October 25th at LA Trade Tech. Brought to you by KBLA Talk 1580 and the LA Progressive. The future won't wait, and neither should you. Mark your calendar now to be there and be heard. Stay tuned to KBLA Talk 1580 for more details.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Today we're on the grind with Barbara Arnwine, who'll be joining with us just moments from now. But I do want to talk about the ongoing saga that is the Voting Rights Act of 1965. This past weekend, Friday, I believe it was, the governor of the state of Missouri has announced that his state is going to join Governor Abbott in trying to squeeze more Republicans out of that state. And the attack that they are essentially launching is on the 5th Congressional District in Missouri. That district is led by Congressman Emanuel Cleaver, former mayor of St. Louis, Missouri. And if his district is chopped up, it is going to be very difficult for Emanuel Cleaver to return to the Congress of the United States. We've already seen in the state of Texas, Jasmine Crockett and Al Green now in very, very difficult fights to return to the Congress of the United States. Democrats in California are looking at the idea under Gavin Newsom of redrawing their districts. The chairman of the Democratic National Committee, during these redistricting fights, he said, "I am sick and tired of Democrats coming to a knife fight with a pencil." The problem is, for African Americans and the Voting Rights Act of 1965, when it comes to drawing congressional districts, because African Americans have lived in historically segregated neighborhoods, forced to live in historically segregated neighborhoods, in order to draw a congressional district where an African American can have an equal opportunity of actually getting elected, you need a pencil to kind of work your way around the city and pick up the soul food restaurant crowd over here on King Drive, and then draw the district around Cottage Grove and the district around whatever city you live in where the street's name is Malcolm X, the street we all live on, and then make sure you include the Nation of Islam temple in the district, and grab some Baptist churches as you draw your congressional district around Harlem. And as you continue to draw the district, don't forget to include some South Central in the district and some South side of Chicago and West side of Chicago, because that's the way America essentially positioned us when they discriminated against us in housing. There's a black side of town everywhere in the United States of America. But when you look at a state like Alabama, where 40% of the state is black, 40%. And then they only have one black congressman from the whole state. And even the Alabama Supreme Court said there should be at least 2. Gina Towns, our producer, has now put up some comments by Stacey Abrams. Gina, let's run that.
I will start with it's showing up in elections that they don't expect to see us in. We didn't quite accomplish in Georgia what they did in Iowa, but Deborah Shigley took 39% of the vote in a district that the Republican won by 70% just last year. And so even in deep red places, in fact, he was brought up to the White House. He's the new U.S. Treasurer. And so across the country, we are seeing people show up. But we have to show up even more, especially in those small elections, those local elections that we write off, where 10% or 12% of the people decide the outcomes. So that's one piece. The second piece is to understand that this is all connected, that the firing of Lisa Cook, or the attempted firing, let's be clear, he hasn't fired her, that the attempted firing of Lisa Cook, the attempted dismissal at the CDC, that these are all part of the same pattern. It's not just chaos. It is intentional undermining of who we are. And our response has to be that we see through what they're doing and we talk about it. It's why your show is important, why all of these conversations matter, because when we get numb to it and start to internalize it as just the way things are, that's when autocracy, that's when authoritarianism wins. Our third responsibility is to keep showing people how democracy can deliver. And that means irrespective of where you are in government, whatever your position is, make sure you're doing something locally. Make certain that the people who need you see you. You may not be able to solve the broken pieces completely, but make certain they know you understand them and that you're trying to do what you can. Because if democracy delivers, then autocracy has a lot harder time taking hold.
There's polling consistently that shows that a lot of this is not popular. And again, maybe it's just a little bit of it's like a comfort blanket I put on myself. It's like, seriously, I was like, well, people don't like it. But I do think it's pretty empirically grounded. I do think that, like, the right direction, wrong direction question, this is the Trump approval rating today from Quinnipiac has him, underwater. They all basically, look the same on every issue. He's really bad on the economy. That's where he's probably faring the worst. Do you think it matters? Does public opinion matter still?
It matters, but it's what we use it for. It is not going to stop him from, it's not going to stop the Republican Party from executing an authoritarian takeover of our country. The reason he's trying to fire Lisa Cook is because stagflation lurks in the shadows, and he doesn't want to get blamed for his role in breaking the economy in a way we haven't seen in 40 years. But what we can't become comfortable with is that the opinion polls will save us. Mm-hmm. Elections will save us. We have to save ourselves, because step 10, there are 10 steps in the autocrats playbook. Step 10 is making sure you don't have elections. That's why you see redistricting in Georgia, sorry. You see redistricting in Texas. You see in Georgia the purging of 478,000 voters. You see in Florida the just continued decimation of democracy. The reason they're doing what they can everywhere is because even if its poll numbers are in the basement, they don't want there to be an ability for Americans to do something about it. And that's why showing up in every election, everywhere, especially this year, matters so much, because we've got to wrest power back. Strongmen are rarely popular. They're just terrifying. They are weak cowards who use their positions to overwhelm the people. The people can't allow themselves to be overwhelmed. So yes, we can have the security blanket of low poll numbers, but that has to be met with the very public attempt to push back and demand more, to engage in the kind of civil disobedience we see happening in Fulton County when they are refusing to seat election deniers on the Fulton County Board of Elections. We've got to do what we can immediately to show that we will not be cowed.
Stacey Abrams, thank you for your time tonight.
Weak cowards who use their authoritarian positions to overwhelm the people. When we come forward, we're going to be on the grind with Barbara Arnwine. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580. More with Barbara Arnwine when we come forward.
It's afternoon drive time with Jesse Jackson Jr. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
Why'd I go to the doctor? My heart would race just taking my son to practice. It didn't feel right. So I got checked out. Turns out I have atrial fibrillation, which increases the risk of stroke about 5 times.
Symptoms like irregular heartbeat, heart racing, chest pain, shortness of breath, fatigue, or lightheadedness can come and go. But if it's AFib, the risk of stroke remains. If you have symptoms, contact a doctor.
I'm so glad I did.
Visit notimetowait.com. Sponsored by Bristol-Myers Squibb and Pfizer.
Exciting news, ladies! Always discreet boutique bladder leak underwear are available in black and printed design. Protect yourself with style. These fit and feel just like real underwear, and they give you up to 0 leaks, 0 odor. Designed for all shapes and sizes, they give you the confidence to be fully yourself. Don't let bladder leaks hold you back. Buy Always Discreet Boutique Bladder Leak underwear now.
Yeah, I'm looking at the pages right now.
Thomas's translation company just lost its only 2 Spanish speakers. Without the right replacements, he'll be in problemas.
Yeah, we'll have those ready. Tonight's gonna be a late one.
Indeed can help him hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. With Indeed Instant Match, we immediately show you quality candidates whose resumes on Indeed meet your sponsored job description. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
This is the story of the one. As a safety manager at a manufacturing plant, he does everything he can to keep his coworkers safe. From finding ways to reduce risks to keeping safety supplies in stock. And for that, he relies on Grainger. Grainger offers a broad range of quality products and next-day delivery, so he can always play it safe. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
This is Joe Cordell of Cordell & Cordell. Cordell & Cordell is the largest family law firm in the country, with over 35 years of helping clients navigate divorce. That does give us certain advantages, for example, in experience and resources. But being big doesn't mean less personal or less local. Our attorneys live and work in your community, and as neighbors, they understand the challenges your families face. If you're a guy facing divorce, remember, Cordell & Cordell, a partner you can count on.
1455 Frazee, San Diego. CordellCordell.com.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Jesse Jr. The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. This is Tenacious Tuesdays. Soon we will be on the grind with Barbara Arnwine, but I want to tell you about the right to vote. Tavis Smiley, I sent him a text message this week when I heard about Emmanuel Cleaver and the Missouri governor talking about tearing apart his district. And my mind went right back to something the late Frank Watkins, my father's communications director, shared with me. He said the right to vote is preservative of all other rights. It is the most fundamental right that we have in a democracy. We have, in this constitutional republic, amended our way into the idea of democracy. Because at the inception of the nation on September 17th, 1787, we were not a democracy, we were a republic of white male landowners who not only saw us as 3/5 of human beings, but they didn't even care about their own mamas, white women. They didn't care about their own daughters. They didn't care about white men who did not own land. What they thought of African Americans, 3/5 of a human, black, Negro, whatever they was calling us back then, 3/5 of a human being, until the 15th Amendment to the Constitution, where black men, for a short period, during the period known as First Reconstruction, earned the right to vote as part of the Reconstruction Amendments. Those amendments being 13, 14, and 15th Amendments to the Constitution. Now we are looking at a movement by Donald John Trump, the MAGA crowd, Stephen Miller, and all of the people who are really doing the thinking behind Donald Trump to return the nation to the republic, as if the Constitution itself has never been amended. And yes, they'll use the 10th Amendment where they can to say that we're returning power to the states, while they have a more dubious purpose to undermine the idea of democracy. The 15th Amendment, the 19th Amendment, the 26th Amendment, mail-in voting. Donald Trump said today in a press conference that the state of Colorado lost access or the opportunity to have Space Force located in their state because Colorado is a state that still maintains mail-in voting. So Donald Trump said, I'm putting the Space Force in Alabama. Hundreds of billions of dollars to occupy space, to build some kind of missile dome over the United States to protect our nation. He wants to make that investment in Alabama, and he's punishing the state of Colorado because of what? Because they have mail-in voting. And Donald Trump says that mail-in voting is illegal. But we're just scratching the surface on the problem. Donald Trump is prepared to punish every blue state that has mail-in voting by withdrawing federal projects and federal opportunities that we pay with our tax dollars to the federal government by single-handedly shifting our projects out of our states, districts, and cities to areas that support the emperor. That's really what he's doing. That's really what he's trying to tell you he will do. If you don't go along with his agenda, here he come. As we speak, the mayor of the city of Chicago and the governor of the state of Illinois are now going through exactly what Governor Newsom and Mayor Karen Bass have already gone through. I sure wish you guys would have a big conference call with mayors around the country and governors around the country from these blue states, and each of you all should be on the same page on what's coming next, because some of you have already experienced it, particularly in Los Angeles. I think Mayor Karen Bass has handled it all with tremendous grace. But in Chicago, there just is this feeling that there is something going down and there is going to be some fighting in the street. And I'm telling you, if it happens, the President of the United States is going to invoke the Insurrection Act. And there's no such thing as an Insurrection Act just for Chicago. It gives him martial law powers from one end of the union to the other. These are some very difficult times and some critical times. And in this moment, I can't believe it, we're now officially on the grind with Barbara Arnwine. Barbara, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
I think I should count down. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Go, Barbara. Barbara, listen, this has been one, we're looking at the dismantling of the Emanuel Cleaver district by the governor of Missouri. Just this past Thursday, he's announced that he's encouraging his state to undertake redistricting efforts. We've talked about the right to vote being preservative of other rights. We know that the Transformative Justice Coalition has been on the forefront a number of these cases around the country and these redistricting fights. Like Eddie Murphy and Dan Aykroyd in the movie Trading Places, I bet Tavis Smiley $1 that by the census of 2032 and census of 2030 and the reapportionment of 2032, that we could very well be looking at the end of Second Reconstruction, just like Oscar DePriest and others looked at the end of First Reconstruction in the century before last. I don't think I'm wrong, am I, Barbara?
No, I mean, remember, it's even worse because these people absolutely hate democracy. I don't call them anti-democracy forces for nothing. They are anti-democracy. They believe in a plutocracy. They believe in an oligarchy, anything that is government by the rich, and they're white supremacists on top of it. So what's going to happen, folks, is I saw people this weekend on social media talking about what's happening with their birth certificates, that there's no race category appearing on birth certificates. People, this is all part of a game to destroy Black political power. That's what the game was post-Reconstruction, the first one. It is imperative for us to not be confused about what we're seeing. There's a lot of confusion. I'm reading people, and people are so confused. Be very clear that this administration believes in an imperial presidency. If you read Project 2025, that's all it's about. Under an imperial presidency, the president can do anything That's why we say no kings. He's not a king, but he thinks he is. And under the imperial presidency, they believe that the president is superior to the Constitution. That's what you got to understand, people. And so today, for him to be talking about he's sending troops to Chicago, today he just lost a big case in California where it was found that he, in fact, violated the Constitution, violated the the Posse Comitatus Act, that he had troops engaged in functions for which they are forbidden to engage in domestically. And let me be very clear for anybody saying, oh, that's just one of those judges. No, the actual military personnel who was in charge of the troops testified that he called and said, these are not legal actions that we can take as National Guard. And he was overridden. That's what you got to understand, folks. These are not judges just making crazy decisions. They're actually ruling based on facts. And that's what happened in this case. So, in light of California, where does he think he has the authority to send anybody anywhere else? National Guard. I think that clearly this is going to be appealed. Clearly, it's going to go all the way up. Clearly, we got to see what this Supreme Court does. Ultimately, but I want people to understand that what he is doing is totally outside of the bounds of the Constitution. That, in fact, if he wants to fight crime, he should be calling Pritzker up. He should be calling Brandon Scott up and saying, what do you need, Mayor? What do you need, Governor? How do I help? What can I do as the President of the United States? If he really somehow in his demented mind thinks that we are under some kind of amazingly bizarre crime wave, if he really believes that, then he should be trying to find a solution to it, not to assert again more power. Because, folks, be very clear, he's only picking Democratic enclaves where there's predominantly Black populations. He's only picking Democratic enclaves because if you look, I want you to look up a couple things. Where have there been the most mass shootings this year? Where has there been the most homicides this year? And you will find that even with Chicago's problems, even with DC's problems, they're not at the top of the list. And that it's Republican districts like Monroe, Louisiana. It's Republican districts that have the most homicides. So he is purposefully using this because why Democratic? Because he wants to destroy Black political power. He wants to destroy Democratic power. The way to do it is put troops in the streets, scare the hell out of everybody like they're doing in D.C. Talk about crimes down. Hell, nobody's on the streets. People are afraid to go out. People are afraid to do anything in the city. Did you see the notes today, you guys? Not only is D.C. suffering because tourism is down in Washington, D.C., the entire nation is losing billions of dollars because tourism is down throughout the United States. Nobody wants to come here under this lawless administration and be subjected to its whimsical, unpredictable, arbitrary decision making. And people fear that if they come here, how the hell are they going to get home? What if they try to get here and then they're turned around? All these things have been happening to folks, and nobody wants to take it. Plus, if you're going to tell everybody that places are crime ridden, out of control, just savages everywhere, why would you want to go there? He is destroying the U.S. economy.
Harper,
Chicago
Chicago, just like Los Angeles, is a service-based economy. I mean, as much as we talk about AI and the high-tech economy, we're cities that survive off of Hollywood Boulevard, off of State Street, off of Michigan Avenue, off of 80% occupancy at our hotels. We have
Yes.
boat shows and car shows at our large
Yes.
convention centers. And the presence of the National Guard has an effect on whether or not people choose to come to our cities. And
Yes.
therefore, it undermines the economy in the central business districts. Gina
Now,
was kind enough to bring on our program earlier today. We listened to a clip by Stacey Abrams. Stacey Abrams seems to suggest in this particular clip that democracy is in such peril at this hour, Attorney Arnwine, that we cannot afford to miss a single election. I'd like to hear your comments on that before we come forward.
Not one election can we miss. Voting and political engagement is 24/7. Folks, there are elections literally every month, every week in this country. But folks don't pay attention to them. That's how you end up with all of these people representing districts, and they have no respect for their own voters. They don't do what the voters want. They do what the big money that got them into the race does, or they do what they want to do based on their ideological leanings. This is a problem. Vote every opportunity you get. All of you, that 19 million of you, come on now. All of you, just own up. You don't have to go to confession, but own up. The 19 million of you who sat out the 2024 election did not vote. Shame, but don't worry about the shame. Say that, hey, I'm in the game again. Forget about the shame. I'm in the game. And I want you to start voting again. I want you to make sure you're registered to vote. Stacey was talking about making sure that you're registered. And she's right, because National Voter Registration Day is September the 16th. Make sure you're registered. That's not your only opportunity to register, but it's a way of saying get registered early. You know why? Do you know why? Do you realize that in Georgia and Florida and other states, they have been refusing to count late submitted voter registrations? Do you know that?
Barbara, 1 second. When we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580, more with Barbara Arnwine on the grind, we are going to talk about this voter registration problem and just how far the Democratic Party presently is behind. More with Barbara Arnwine when we come forward.
It's afternoon drive time with Jesse Jackson Jr. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Amber Payton with BIN News Now. President Trump says federal forces will intervene in Chicago, suggesting the National Guard may be sent in, though he did not give a timeline. He claimed black residents are asking for help.
Most of them were African American, who were black. And they were saying, please, please, please let the president send it. These were people from Chicago.
He went on to criticize the city's high murder rate and pointed to what he called success with the Guard in Washington, D.C. Black Baltimore Mayor Brandon Scott is praising a sharp drop in violent crime, with 2025 on pace for the fewest homicides in 50 years. The city has seen 91 killings through August, down nearly 30% from last year, along with a 21% drop in shootings. And George Raveling, former black basketball college coach and Nike executive, has died at 88 after battling cancer. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
You deserve a car that thrills you. A car that puts goosebumps on your goosebumps. At Nissan, they've got everything from turbocharged SUVs to 100% electric vehicles that'll make your heart beat faster. Experience the thrill for yourself. Shop your local Nissan store and nissanusa.com today.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
Naomi Osaka is playing like a Grand Slam tennis champion again. Osaka, the number 23 seed at the U.S. Open, eliminated Coco Gauff, the number 3 seed. Osaka needed only only 64 minutes to beat golf 6-3 and 6-2. Golf had 33 unforced errors. Osaka, a four-time Grand Slam champion, is in the quarterfinals of a Grand Slam event for the first time in 4.5 years. She faces Karolina Muchova of Czechia on Wednesday. Venus Williams advanced to the quarterfinals of the doubles competition at the U.S. Open. The 45-year-old Venus and Leylah Fernandez beat Ekaterina Alexandrova and Zhang Shuai 6-3 and 6-4. Venus and the 22-year-old Fernandez had never played together before this year's U.S. Open. They will play in the quarterfinals today against Taylor Townsend and Katerina Siniakova. You can catch today's doubles match live on ESPN at 1 p.m. Pacific Time. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio that's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580.
Are you ready to be a part of the conversation that will help shape our nation's future? Get ready to join us for the Left Coast Forum, Saturday, October 25th at LA Trade Tech, where progressive voices will come together to tackle the issues that matter most to working families across Los Angeles and beyond. From economic justice to climate action, from healthcare to housing, we're bringing together the brightest minds and most passionate advocates for real solutions and real change. With workshops, 2 major keynote addresses, and a closing reception with great music and good food. It's the Left Coast Forum, where your voice matters and your ideas take action. Saturday, October 25th at LA Trade Tech. Brought to you by KBLA Talk 1580 and the LA Progressive. The future won't wait, and neither should you. Mark your calendar now to be there and be heard. Stay tuned to KBLA Talk 1580 for more details.
As a mom, comforting my family is what I do best. Vicks Vapor Stick provides soothing, non-medicated Vicks Vapors in an easy-to-apply stick, and it dries fast, so there's no mess. I use it to comfort myself and my family.
Thanks, Mom.
Vicks Vapo Stick, soothing comfort for the whole family. And try Vicks Vapo Shower Max for steamy Vicks Vapors when you need more comfort for yourself. Use as directed.
Hey, listen to this. All I needed was a new starter. Got a great deal on eBay. Did it myself.
Yeah, that's cool. But how about the soft purr of an upgraded exhaust when it fits just right?
For me, it's the little things, like these new windshield wipers from eBay I installed.
From small fixes to big upgrades, eBay has all the parts you need at prices you'll love, guaranteed to fit every time. eBay, things people love. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
With a KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Dr. Nicolai Corte. Let's preserve Black land stories before they're lost forever. I want to personally invite you to be a part of something historic. As journalist in residence for the Black Land Lost Narrative Archive Project, I've joined forces with powerhouse attorney and social justice champion George Fothery, the man who helped make history by delivering justice to the Bruce family in Manhattan Beach, securing the first known return of land unjustly taken from Black owners by a local government. That victory was monumental, but it was just the beginning. For generations, Black families have acquired land through grit, faith, and determination, only to lose it through violence, legal loopholes, forced sales, and systematic racism. What's been taken goes far beyond dirt and deeds. It's the erasure of wealth, identity, and legacy. That's why we've launched the Black Land Lost Narrative Archive Project, a national effort to collect, protect, and preserve the stories of Black land lost before they're buried, forgotten, or erased altogether. Because there's power in telling Black stories, there is resistance in remembering, and there's justice in being seen and heard. This is where you come in. We're inviting you to be a part of this historic Black narrative archive. If you or someone you know has experienced land loss, displacement, or forced property sales, your story deserves to be heard and remembered. Your story belongs in this archive. Your truth matters not just to your family, but to our collective future. Visit blacklandlost.org today. Fill out our simple intake form and add your voice to the National Archive of Remembrance, Resilience, and Reckoning. Let's make these stories live on, not in whispers, but on the record. With a KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Dr. Nicolai Corte, and as always, we welcome your feedback.
You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. It's Tenacious Tuesdays, and we're on the grind with Barbara Arnwine, our most tenacious co-host on this Tuesday. Barbara, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Barbara, let me ask you a question. Just a few short years ago, and it landed Donald Trump in a world of trouble. He asked the governor of the state of Georgia to find him 11,700 more votes. As if right before our eyes, live on a videotape, Secretary of State, the governor, all involved, they caught him trying to steal more votes in an election. It created lots of problems for the president. But those 11,700 votes that he was seeking then fail by comparison to the 400,000 voters that Stacey Abrams says were just purged from Georgia rolls. Now, 400,000 voters means that Donald Trump doesn't have to ask for 11,700 votes. It just means we cannot win Georgia without those 400,000 voters. It means Ossoff and Warnock are in trouble unless these 400,000 people are put back on the rolls, or we go and find them and register them to vote again.
Right.
So someone in California, in Los Angeles, where I am, where you are, and someone in Chicago, where we are, we might say, what the hell does Georgia losing 400,000 voters mean to us?
Everything.
I mean, I'm over here. I don't care about what's happening in Georgia. I don't care what's happening in Texas. Because we could lose 2 United States senators. Georgia does matter. California does matter. Manuel Cleaver's district in Missouri does matter. Help us, Barbara. Walk down this with us about how important this process is and why we must be paying attention.
People, how many of you have been talking to your relatives over this holiday weekend? Guess what I've been doing? I've been talking and listening. And what have I heard? My Medicaid is gone. Have you heard that? Yes, they are early removing people from Medicaid. Even though they purposefully set the big ugly bill to go into effect on, the Medicaid cuts to happen drastically after the midterm elections so that you wouldn't vote based on that because you wouldn't feel it. Well, people are actually feeling it already. I've spoken to a number of people who already have seen their Medicaid not renewed. See, it's not cut, it's not renewed. So people, be very clear that it's coming. That if you don't have people in the Senate to stop it, that's why you care about every state having as many senators who will say no. Right now, the Senate is about to be pushed. There's a big effort to push this voter suppression bill called the SAVE Act. That act will affect you everywhere. Are you married? Are you a woman who's married? Did you change your name when you married? If you did, then you don't want the SAVE Act to pass because it says that you can't register if your birth certificate does not match your actual license and your passport, and you've been using your married name for all those things. That means something like 65 to 70% of all married women are in trouble. That's how bad. But remember, all right, if you say, well, wait a minute, Barbara, that's white and black and all kinds of women. Did you forget that it Headset's former pastor has been in the news? Why has he been in the news, folks? Because he's calling for the repeal of the 19th Amendment. Jesse, you heard me? They're so darn backwards. They don't even want women to vote. They want women to lose the constitutional right to vote. That's how hateful, patriarchal, racist these folks are.
Well, they're going to meet their match, though. They're going to meet their match, Barbara, if my mama goes to vote and can't vote. Let me tell you something.
Come on now, because she got that last name change.
When she wrote a book, Loving You, Thinking of You, Don't Forget to Pray, she wrote me every day in prison.
Beautiful.
And she was awarded by her college and university, North Carolina A&T State University, her Doctor of Humane Letters. And she's now Dr. Jacqueline Jackson. When they sent her the letter letting her know that she was being awarded an honorary doctorate degree because she didn't graduate. Her first year in college, got pregnant, but she's been faithful to my father for more than 6 decades. Part of that ministry and part of that work. She got a letter from the university that said, "Dear Jacqueline Davis, the board of directors of North Carolina A&T State University are proud and honored to honor you this year with an honorary doctorate degree." And my mama looked at the letter and she threw it away. She said, "Jacqueline Davis?" I called her about a week later and said, "Mama, congratulations." She said, "What?" I said, "A&T has given you an honorary doctorate degree. You've been graduated from college." And she said, I ain't got that. Didn't happen. Then Mama said, "I've been Mrs. Jesse Jackson for so long." He did not know who Jacqueline Davis was. So Donald Trump is saying Jacqueline Davis better show up to vote.
That's right.
And if Mr. Jesse Jackson shows up to vote, I'm telling you, it's going to be World War III if they tell her she cannot vote under the name she's only known for 6 decades.
And that's real. I'm not making this up, people. And you know what? This era, this problem in this bill has been pointed out to these people for 2 years and they've refused to change it. That means that's what they intend. They keep saying, "Oh, it's just a mistake. We'll fix it." They haven't fixed anything. They've had 2 years to fix it, and they refuse to fix it because their intent is to hurt women, because they think women might vote based on abortion. So they don't want women to vote. So this is so important for people to understand what's going on. Today, September the 2nd, is National Call-In Day. National Call-In Day. You need to write down this number and call it. Area code 202-224-3121. 202-224-3121. That's going to get you to the U.S. Congressional Switchboard. When you get there, say you want to talk to your senator. If you don't even know your senator's name, that's, you'll learn it. But if you don't know it, they will ask you for your zip code. And you can just give them that.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. You're listening to KBLA Talk 1580. When we come forward, we're going to talk about that number, 202-224-3121. And on the House side, it's 202-225-3121. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. When we come forward, more on the grind with Barbara Arnold.
While you're stuck in traffic, we can at least bring you up to speed on the news of the day. You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. only on KBLA Talk 1580.
September is World Alzheimer's Month, a time to shine a light on a public health crisis that deeply impacts Black families. 1 in 5 Black adults ages 70 and older is living with Alzheimer's disease, or AD, and the risk is twice as high compared to white adults. But AD isn't just forgetting a name or losing track of time. Signs of early AD could be repeating questions, missing appointments, or struggling with bills and daily tasks. These things aren't a normal part of aging. Here's the good news. Treatments are available that may help if AD is diagnosed early. If you notice changes in memory or daily routines, whether in yourself or a loved one, don't wait. Early diagnosis and intervention are key to managing AD effectively. To learn more about AD and a potential treatment option, visit treatalsearly.com. That's treatalzearly.com to learn more about the signs and symptoms and a potential treatment option. This message is brought to you by AZI. Thinking about going electric? Now is the perfect time. Electric vehicles cost less to run, don't need gas, and need fewer repairs than gas-powered cars. You can also save with federal and state tax credits, and in some areas, qualify for rebates on home charging stations. To learn more, visit www.breathesocal.org. That's www.breathesocal.org.
Hear that? That's the sound of your life. Perfectly imperfect. Beating in rhythm to the world you've created. But every time you drive after drinking, the music gets drowned out. Your life sounds pretty great. Don't let a buzz ruin it. Buzz driving is drunk driving. Don't drive buzzed. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
Imagine a Los Angeles where everyone can thrive, where communities have access to the resources they need to succeed. That's the vision of Detours Mentoring Group, Inc. They're dedicated to improving life in LA County by providing educational support, employment assistance, and spaces for community engagement. By 2050, they want LA to be the best place to connect, create, learn, live, and play. They're working toward an education system that's well-resourced and culturally responsive, becoming a hub for artists and innovators, and making sure everyone has access to healthy food, quality healthcare, and safe housing. It's about building a future where we all have the chance to succeed. We invite you to learn more about their mission and get involved with Detours Mentoring Group, Inc. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. We're on the grind today with Barbara Arnwine. Barbara, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
It's great to be here.
Barbara, can I have 2 minutes of your last 10?
Go ahead.
I want to remind everyone that it takes 218 votes to get anything done in Congress. 218. Maybe 19 congressmen come from Illinois. Maybe. When I got to Congress, Barbara, I needed 218 friends from all over the country to get one thing done in my district in Illinois. I had to get to know everybody. And I needed to cushion that with about 230 people that I could call in Congress to say, hey, don't oppose this. I need this little piece right here in here for this right here over here, right? Yes. It takes 51 United States senators to pass a piece of legislation. That means I need to know 51 United States senators, not just the 2 who represent my state. If I want to get something done, I need to have a relationship with 51 of them. So in a real sense, I am involved in mankind, that I am a part of a whole, that I need to know what's going on in Emmanuel Cleaver's space. I need to know what's going on in Ossoff and Warnock's space. I need to know what's going on in Maxine Waters' space. I need to know what's going on in Kwaisi Mfume's space, in Maryland, Bobby Scott's space in Virginia, Jim Clyburn's space in South Carolina, in the Meeks family and their organization down in Florida. I need to know what's going on in Louisiana with Congressman Cleo Fields. You see, in order to get, I'm not just up here calling names. If I'm going to get something done just for people in the city of Chicago, I need to know these people and what's going on in their space. If I want an education department They want an education department too. And we have to come together to reconstitute the Department of Education, or to feed hungry children in Gaza, or to stop the wars in the Middle East or in Ukraine. In other words, every one of us is involved in this process. So when 400,000 people are removed from the rolls in Georgia, I am profoundly concerned when I'm in Leimert Park in Los Angeles, or when I'm on the south side of Chicago. That's the 2 minutes that I needed, Barbara.
You said it all. Folks, I want you to play a game with me. It's called How Many? How many people do you think were purged in 2024? How many people? You know, you're thinking, oh, Georgia, they crazy. How many people? How many people? Try over 4 million.
4 million?
Nationwide.
Wow.
And we're talking about an election that was decided by what? About 2 million votes? Add to that the unprocessed registrations. People who filled out a registration card said, I want to be registered to vote on time, but their states refused to process them because they came in at the last minute. That's why we say register early. That's why we're pushing you to register by September the 16th. Folks, did you know Virginia starts voting in a few weeks for the November election in Virginia for their statewide elections in a few weeks? So, folks, it's important. Come on now, register right now. Make sure, call up Jimmy and Becky and them, everybody you know. Call them
and them
and tell them that they need to be registered. And when they say, oh, auntie, oh, buddy, whatever, I'm already voted. You know who's not registered. Come on now, push them. Tell them I'll take you down there.
It's not funny. It's not
election.
funny, but you know who ain't participating and who ain't going to vote.
They lie and don't know where no polling site is. Ain't been voting. Come on now. Come on. We got to help them. We got to help them out.
You got to drag this Negro to vote. Drag this Negro to
My mom
vote.
used to, I love my mother Vera. She's no longer with us, but Mama Vera would get on that line every election day. She would get up I'm telling you, she would get up at least 6 o'clock a.m. in the morning, Eastern time. And she would start calling every relative that she knew everywhere. Now, Curtis, you know you got to vote today. You know you got to vote today.
I bumped into a Negro the other day. The Negro said, man, I'm voting for you on Tuesday.
See?
I said, wait, that election ain't till March, bro. I mean, what you doing on Tuesday?
See? That's what I'm talking about. But that's voter education. That's why those of us who are able to, we need to be engaged. We got to be engaged for voter education, voter registration. I will be in Florida this week. I'm on my way, Florida NAACP. Thanks for having me. I'll be there with others from TJC.
Tell everybody where you're going to be in Florida.
I'm going to be in Orlando as part of the NAACP's annual convention. And we're going to be presenting, we're taking real materials to hand out to people, including the new revised, updated 72 plus forms of voter suppression, which you can find at tjcoalition.org if you want to get it. But I just want to point out to people, it's important for you to take your hand, because my mom literally would call them at 3 in the morning. Are you ready to vote? Grandma, I can't. I don't know how I'm going to get there. I don't have a ride. Hold on, she would say. Then she would call Jimmy. Jimmy, did you know that Susie doesn't have a ride? Grandma, it's 3 in the morning. She said, I don't care. Do you know Susie doesn't have a ride to go vote? I'll take her, Grandma. I'll take her. Okay, hold on. Susie, Jimmy, talk. I need you guys to have a plan. I need to know when you're going to pick her up, when she's going to get to. See, that's the kind of thing that we got to have that spirit. We got to have that spirit about it, because she literally was a one-woman voting machine.
Barbara,
And
can I ask you
she
a question?
taught me a lot.
Barbara, one of the things I learned from my dad, and I think about my dad a lot because I spent part of Labor Day with him, and I know that you spent many decades with my dad. Barbara, Jesse Jackson was that guy. He was that dude on voter registration.
Oh, yes.
He may not have been running for president during the post-84, 88 cycles, but Jesse Jackson was that dude on voter registration, on the radio, very present. That's who he was. And it seems to me that we also need some personalities, Barbara, who are arguing the case for our political engagement and involvement. I mean, it's not just, us one at a time. There has to be, in my opinion, I don't know if it's Wes Moore, I don't know if it's Gavin Newsom, I don't know if it's Pritzker, but it just seems to me that the personalities also matter. And I don't hear that at the top of the Democratic Party.
What people want are fighters. Right now, people don't want folks that are willing to bow over, say whatever's popular. They want fighters. They want people who are going to fight to keep our democracy. People who are going to fight to make sure that everybody's fed, to make sure that we all have medical coverage, that we're protected. It's people who won't wreck, our nation. They are looking for people with a spine, some courage. Come on now. They're looking for people with some leadership. I say that, the Democrats, you better not run a broken horse up against this other broken horse. You need to find somebody who can really speak to the people. But let me be clear. I am not party oriented. I am issue oriented. I'm interest oriented. And frankly, if everybody who you were talking about earlier, with all these, as Stacey was talking about, all these unpopular things, the majority of people think there should be more stronger gun control, no automatic weapons on the street. The majority of people think that everyone should be entitled to universal health care. The majority of people believe these things. Why isn't it the law of the land? It's not the law of the land because the people who sit in office don't think that you will vote against them if they vote against you.
Barbara,
We got to change that equation. You can't just say you don't like something or you're for something. You got to say, if you don't deliver me that, then you'll never see my vote.
Barbara,
and I'll work to make sure you never see anybody else's vote.
Barbara,
That's what we need.
Barbara, we're going to have to let that be our last word. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. You've been listening to Barbara Arnwine on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. More tomorrow.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Amber Payton with BIN News Now. President Trump says federal forces will intervene